9/20, July 17th, 2024. Let's see. I've okay, how do I start this? I have a lot of books, a lot of which I bought over the years, and I wanted them, and I've never read them for whatever reason, and I'm at a point in my life where I want to read them. I bought them with a certain interest in mind, and I don't know why I let books intimidate me. Paper and ink. But let's not be intimidated anymore. So, what I'm going to do right now, because I don't have a lot of time, is read kind of some of the intro and go from there and kind of leave that up as a casual beginning to it. I already Googled, does Sister Carrie have any racial slurs? And Google didn't turn up anything. So, because I do not want to alter the work. But I don't know if I'm interested in it, but I won't know unless I read it, right? So let's give Sister Carrie a try. I also have, I forgot the other Theodore Dreiser work. What else did he do? What else did he do? What else did he do? Nope. I'm probably Jeannie Gerhardt. Okay. But Sister Carrie was within reach. So okay, let's start by talking about Theodore Dreiser. Theodore Dreiser was born on August 27th, 1871 in Terre Haute, Indiana. I know where that is. The ninth of 10 children. The family lived in poverty, and his brothers and sisters were rebellious and wild. At age 16, Theodore left home for Chicago, where he took a variety of jobs. With the help of a former teacher, he enrolled at Indiana University in 1889, but after a year he left school, aimless and uncertain about his future. By 1892, Dreiser was working as a journalist, first in Chicago and then in St. Louis. He moved to New York City in 1894, took over editorship of a monthly music magazine, and contributed his own editorials, reviews, and articles for publication. He became a prodigious writer, trying his hand at everything from short stories to poetry to drama, and published diverse articles in such popular magazines as Harper's Monthly, McClure's, and Cosmopolitan. He married Sarah Osborne White, a schoolteacher, in 1898. In 1900, Dreiser, I don't know if it's Dreiser, probably butchering it, published his first novel, Sister Carrie, to mixed reviews. The book sold just 500 copies before controversy over its frank treatment of sexual relations and unpunished immorality prompted the publisher to withdraw it from sale. Dreiser began a second novel but fell into a depression so severe that his brother placed him in a sanatorium to recuperate. Emerging from treatment, Dreiser, I'll try to look that up so I can pronounce it right, Dreiser, resumed editing and eventually secured a job as editor-in-chief with Butterick Publications. In 1907, Sister Carrie was reissued and Dreiser's literary accomplishment acknowledged, but in 1910, a romance with the daughter of a co-worker forced him to resign his post at Butterick. Undaunted, Dreiser completed his second novel, Jeannie Gerhardt, 1911, and, inspired by its modest success, became a full-time writer. Never a faithful husband, Dreiser permanently separated from his wife in 1912, but the couple never divorced. Politically, he became involved with the progressive movement, and his writings often focused on social injustice and materialism. thanks in part to the positive reviews of social critic H.L. Mencken. Small world. Dreiser's literary fame grew, but his publishers frequently censored his controversial style of realism. Dreiser devoted the next several years to various genres, including travel writing, memoirs, philosophical essays, short stories, and even poetry. He also wrote several major novels, including the first two books in the Trilogy of Desire series and The Genius, 1915. In 1919, Dreiser began an affair with his young cousin, Helen Richardson. They moved to Hollywood, where he began The Bulwark, a novel about the struggles of a Quaker family that would be published in 1946, and sought work in the movie industry. In 1925, he published An American Tragedy, a novel about a sensational murder. His first commercial success, the book won critical acclaim for its fearless, brutally honest observations of American society. In 1927, Dreiser visited the Soviet Union, and during the Great Depression, he was an outspoken critic of capitalism. Though he wrote little fiction during this time, Dreiser developed an abiding interest in the natural sciences involved in many social causes. His wife died in 1942, and 2 years later, Dreiser married Helen Richardson. Theodore Dreiser died on December 28, 1945, in Hollywood, California. Two novels, The Bulwark and The Stoic, the final installment in the Trilogy of Desire, were published posthumously. The table of contents. The World of Theodore Dreiser and Sister Carrie. 9. IX. Introduction by Herbert Leibowitz. XV. 15. A Note on Hotels, Homes, Restaurants, and Theater. XXV. 25. Sister Carrie. 1. Endnotes. 447. Page 447. Inspired by Sister Carrie, page 451. Comments and questions, page 453. For further reading, page 461. Okay, so let's... The World of Theodore Dreiser, and Sister Carrie. I really hope this doesn't give any spoilers, because if it does, I might have to redo this. Let's go. 1871, Theodore Herman Albert Dreiser is born on August 27th in Terre Haute, Indiana, the 9 of 10 surviving children. His father, John Paul Dreiser, is a German immigrant and strict Roman Catholic mill worker who was unable to lift the family out of poverty or exert authority over his unruly children, probably because he had so many damn kids, dude. His mother, Sarah Schnaub, who has a more romantic nature, passes no judgments on the children and wields more influence. Theodore's sisters will be sexually uninhibited. The brothers will leave home as soon as they can. American novelist Stephen Crane and French writer Marcel Proust are born. The Great Fire ravages Chicago. 1884. Philosopher Herbert Spencer, who will be a great influence for Dreiser in later years, publishes The Man versus the State, in which he coins the term survival of the fittest. Didn't know that. 1886. The American Federation of Labor, an association of trade unions, is founded. 1887. Theodore leaves Warsaw, Indiana, where his family is living, for Chicago. He works at such jobs as dishwasher and hardware store clerk. 1889. With the aid of a former teacher, Theodore enrolls for one undistinguished year at Indiana University in Bloomington. Mark Twain publishes A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington are admitted to the Union. Industrialist Andrew Carnegie's The Gospel of Wealth appears, encouraging the rich to use their money for the improvement of mankind. 1892. Dreiser becomes a reporter for the Chicago Globe and a reporter and drama critic for the St. Louis Globe-Democrat. He specializes in human interest stories and uses dialogue and character sketches in many of his pieces. 1893. The Panic of 1893 creates a national economic sinkhole. Labor unrest follows, and unemployment will remain at 10% for more than 5 years. 1894. Dreiser moves to New York City, where he becomes the editor of Every Month, a music magazine whose subtitle he modifies to an illustrated magazine of literature and popular music. With this platform, Dreiser sets forth ideas about social inequalities, literature, and philosophy. 1895. Dreiser begins contributing articles to such magazines as McClure's and Cosmopolitan. H.G. Wells publishes The Time Machine. 1897. Dreiser leaves Every Month to earn a living solely from freelance writing. Among the topics he covers are the plight of workers and Chang'an prisoners, the possibility of life on Mars, and the artistry of photographer Alfred Stieglitz. He publishes interviews with Thomas Edison and Andrew Carnegie. 1898. Dreiser marries Sarah Osborne White, a Missouri school teacher. Henry James publishes The Turn of the Screw. 1899. Writer Arthur Henry, a friend of the Dreisers, encourages Dreiser to begin writing his first novel, Sister Carrie, which he bases on the experience of Emma, one of his sisters. Thorstein Veblen publishes The Theory of the Leisure Class, introducing the concept of conspicuous consumption. American novelist Ernest Hemingway is born. In Chicago, Jane Addams and Ellen Starr found Hull House, which aims to improve social conditions for immigrants and other needy people. 1900. Sister Carrie is published, launching Dreiser's career as a novelist. Reviews are mixed. Some critics see genius in its realism and characterization, while others complain that the story is too depressing and the style tedious. It does not sell well. German philosopher Friedrich dies. Sigmund Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams is published. 1901. Sister Carrie is published in England to popular and critical acclaim. The London Daily Mail notes, "At last a really strong novel has come from America." Andrew Carnegie sells the Carnegie Steel Company to J.P. Morgan for $480 million and dedicates his life to philanthropy in 1901. 1902. A new flagship, Macy's department store, the self-proclaimed largest store on Earth, with 9 stories, 33 elevators, 4 escalators, and a pneumatic tube system, opens in Herald Square in Manhattan. 1903. Suicidal, regretful over his marriage, and blocked in the writing of Jeannie Gerhardt, his second novel, Dreiser enters a sanatorium. Henry James's The Ambassadors and Jack London's The Call of the Wild are published. 1906. Dreiser takes a position as managing editor of Broadway Magazine. Best-selling author O. Henry publishes The 4 Million, and Upton Sinclair publishes The Jungle. 1907. Dreiser becomes editor-in-chief for Butterick Publications. Oklahoma is admitted to the Union. Sister Carrie is reissued to greater critical and popular acclaim than when it first appeared. Dreiser and journalist and social critic H.L. Mencken, who will champion Dreiser's writing throughout his career, begin to correspond. 1909. Dreiser and Sarah separate. Guglielmo Marconi of Italy and Ferdinand Braun of Germany win the Nobel Prize in Physics for wireless telegraphy. The National Association for Advancement of Colored People is founded, establishing its home office in New York City. 1910. A romance with a 17-year-old daughter of one of his associates forces Dreiser's resignation as Butterick's editor. In New York City, the Manhattan Bridge opens. Emma Goldman's book, Anarchism and Other Essays, appears. 1911. Jeannie Gerhardt is published to critical praise and support for its author. Marie Curie is awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Standard Oil's largest remaining company is dissolved by the Supreme Court. In Manhattan, the Triangle Shirtwaist Company sweatshop catches fire, killing 146 young immigrant workers. 1912. The Financier, the first of the trilogy of Desire series about a ruthless American tycoon based on transportation magnate Charles T. Yerkes, is published. After years of unhappiness, Dreiser and his wife permanently separate. The Titanic sinks after striking an iceberg on her maiden voyage, killing 1,500 people. It's like 1502 or something. 1913. On the Banks of the Wabash Far Away. A popular song written by Dreiser's older brother Paul is adopted as the state song of Indiana. Dreiser publishes A Traveler at 40, a travelogue of his journey to Europe. Carl Jung publishes The Theory of Psychoanalysis. 1914. World War I breaks out in Europe. The second trilogy of Desire installment, The Titan, is published. American novelist Booth Tarkington publishes Penrod. 1915. Dreiser publishes The Genius, a semi-autobiographical novel. It is censured by the New York Society for the Suppression of Vice and removed from bookshelves. Albert Einstein introduces his general theory of relativity. 1916. Dreiser's memoir, A Hoosier Holiday, is published, as well as plays of the natural and supernatural. Carl Sandburg publishes Chicago Poems. 9 days after Margaret Sanger opens the nation's first birth control clinic in Brooklyn, she is arrested and the clinic is shut down. 1917. The United States enters World War I. Poet T.S. Eliot publishes Prufrock and Other Observations. The Bolshevik Revolution in Russia topples the Tsar and installs V.I. Lenin as the first head of the Soviet state. H.L. Mencken publishes A Book of Prefaces, a collection of literary essays that includes a positive assessment of Dreiser. 1918. Dreiser publishes Free and Other Stories. And the novel The Hand of the Potter, whose central character is a child molester. H.L. Mencken publishes In Defense of Women. 1919. World War I ends. 12 Men, Dreiser's collection of fictional biographical portraits, appears. He begins a relationship with actress Helen Richardson, his cousin, and moves to Hollywood with her. Sherwood Anderson publishes Winesburg, Ohio, a collection of interconnected stories. Booth Tarkington wins the Pulitzer Prize for the Magnificent Ambersons. 1920. F. Scott Fitzgerald publishes This Side of Paradise. Dreiser publishes a collection of philosophical sketches titled Hey, Rub-a-Dub-Dub. Sinclair Lewis publishes Main Street. Playwright Eugene O'Neill wins the Pulitzer Prize for his drama Beyond the Horizon. Congress passes the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. 1922. Dreiser publishes a second memoir, A Book About Myself, on his newspaper days. T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land appears. Ulysses, the avant-garde novel by James Joyce, is published but is burned by the U.S. Post Office. The American stock market takes off, giving rise to the nickname the Roaring Twenties for this high-flying decade. 1923. Dreiser publishes The Color City, a paean to New York. Sigmund Freud publishes The Ego and the Id. 1925. An American Tragedy is published, based on the actual murder of Grace Brown and the subsequent trial of Chester Gillette. The novel is Dreiser's first major success. American novelist John Dos Passos publishes Manhattan Transfer. Biology teacher John Scopes is convicted of violating Tennessee state law by teaching evolution in public school. Bell Telephone Laboratories is founded. 1926. Moods, Cadenced, and Declaimed, an unremarkable book of Dreiser's verse, appears. 1927. At the invitation of the Soviet government, Dreiser goes to Moscow for the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the October Revolution. Virginia Woolf publishes To the Lighthouse. The Jazz Singer, starring Al Jolson, introduces talking motion pictures. 1928. Dreiser Looks at Russia. An account of Dreiser's visit to the Soviet Union is published. 1929. Dreiser publishes A Gallery of Women, a 2-volume collection of 15 fictionalized profiles of women he has either known or wants to celebrate. The American stock market collapses, initiating the Great Depression. Thomas Wolfe publishes Look Homeward, Angel. By observing distant galaxies, Edwin Hubble determines that the universe is expanding. 1931. Dreiser publishes the anti-capitalist treatise, Tragic America, and a memoir entitled Dawn, an autobiography of early youth. He delivers a speech at New York's Town Hall characterizing the Alabama rape trial of the Scottsboro Boys as legal lynching. Joseph von Sternberg's film version of An American Tragedy opens. Robert Frost's collected poems wins the Pulitzer Prize. The Empire State Building, the tallest skyscraper ever built, opens. 1938. Dreiser settles in California permanently with Helen Richardson. 1939. World War II breaks out in Europe. John Steinbeck publishes The Grapes of Wrath. Film classics Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz premiere. 1941. The Japanese attack Pearl Harbor, bringing the United States into World War II. 1942. Sarah White Dreiser dies after 30 years of separation from her husband. 1944. Dreiser marries his longtime companion Helen Richardson. Tennessee Williams debuts his play The Glass Menagerie on Broadway. On June 6, U.S. forces land at Normandy. 1945. After joining the Communist Party early in the year, Theodore Dreiser dies on December 28th in Hollywood, California. Richard Wright publishes Black Boy. The United States drops atomic bombs on Japanese cities Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In Europe, World War II ends on May 8th. 1946, The Bulwark is published. 1947, The Stoic, the last novel in Dreiser's trilogy of Desire, is published. A collection of Dreiser's short fiction, The Best Short Stories, is published. 1951, A Place in the Sun, a film adaptation of An American Tragedy starring Montgomery Clift and Elizabeth Taylor, opens. 1952, William Wyler's film Carrie opens, starring Laurence Olivier as Hurstwood, Jennifer Jones as Carrie, and Eddie Albert as Drouet. Introduction. Do I have enough time? I think so. Okay. And I'll try to learn how to pronounce these names correctly before I begin the novel. Introduction. Since its publication in 1900, Sister Carrie, Theodore Dreiser's first novel, has incited two kinds of controversy: moral and artistic. When Dreiser submitted his book to the respectable publishing firm of Doubleday, Page & Co., it was initially met with enthusiasm. Serving as a reader, the novelist Frank Norris strongly recommended that the book be acquired. Walter Page also admired the novel, but when Mrs. Doubleday read the manuscript, she argued vehemently that it was an immoral work and urged her husband, Frank, not to publish it. Why? Because the author did not punish Carrie. Okay, see, I think I'm going to read this introduction late because I feel like it's going to give me some spoilers, and I don't want it to. There's also a note on hotels, homes, restaurants, and the theater. I think I might read this afterwards. Okay. I'll read that afterwards. Sorry for the jump on the intro. But I know if I read the intro, it's going to spoil some things, and I don't want it to. So I'm going to skip it. So, well, bummer learning that he was not faithful to his wife. But not surprising. Not a lot of them were. Let's look him up on Wiki. The first I heard of Theodore Dreiser was An American Splendor, where Paul Giamatti playing Harvey Pekar kind of ruined Jeannie Gerhardt for me. So if you don't want spoilers, read that book first before watching that movie. But I can still read it. Theodore. I did not know of his extensive bibliography. I am familiar with Terre Haute. I don't know that I've... Okay. I'm going to bring up a bunch of different things here. I've been to Danville, but not to Terre Haute, and I don't know if they're actually that close to each other, but let's take a look. Danville, directions to Terre Haute, Indiana. Not even close. Terre Haute is south, but I mean, I've been on the border, essentially, almost, kind of, close enough. So, not that far from Terre Haute, frankly. Kind of. Whatever. Within driving distance. Under a day. And let me figure out how to pronounce Dreiser. It's embarrassing. Theodore, how to pronounce Theodore Dreiser. Theodore. Dreiser. Dreiser. Dreiser? Dreiser. Theodore Dreiser? I've been seeing. Okay. Okay, so I'm getting both. I'm getting Dreiser and Dreiser, so none of y'all know how to pronounce it. You're not helping me at all. How do you pronounce Dreiser? Dreiser. Dreiser. Okay, whatever. Yeah. I got it. It's gonna be interchangeable, so I don't know. Just roll with me. And I'll try to get that third character's name right, which I'll have to look up. Drouet. Drouet. I'll be sure to fuck that one up, I'm sure. Drouet. Drouet. How to pronounce Drouet? Drouet? Drouet, probably. Drouet? Drouet? Drouet. Oh. Is it French? Oui? Très bien. Drouet. 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 I'm going to be saying this name a lot, and I'm not going to want to, like, Drouet. 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 Yeah, I'm, like, flipping through the pages, and I see it a lot, so Drouet. People don't want to hear me hawking and spitting. All right. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Theodore Hermann Albert Dreiser, August 27th, 1871 to December 28th, 1945, was an American novelist and journalist at the Naturalist School. His novels often featured main characters who succeeded at their objectives despite a lack of a firm moral code, in literary situations that more closely resemble studies of nature than tales of choice and agency. Dreiser's best-known novels include Sister Carrie in 1900 and An American Tragedy, which I've seen A Place in the Sun. I did not know... Wait, why did they link those two if it... Wait. Trail of Her Lover. Oh, I see. Okay. Looking. The 1951 Paramount Pictures film A Place in the Sun, directed by George Stevens and starring Montgomery Clift, Elizabeth Taylor, and Shelley Winters, is based on the novel An American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser and the Patrick Kearney play adapted from the novel quoted from the film. Okay, I've seen A Place in the Sun, and I fucking hate it. I like it, but I also hate it at the same time. I can't. Because it's all centered around, spoiler alert, the dude dumping the ugly girl for the pretty girl after he's knocked her up. He just straight up murders her to get with Liz, who will, I don't know, suck the lifeblood out of him eventually. And yet, as much as I don't like that movie, I've seen it like 5 times and would watch it 5 more times. Just, I don't know. Not out of hate watching, but out of hate enjoying, maybe? Dreiser was born in Terre Haute, Indiana, to John Paul Dreiser and Sarah Maria. John Dreiser was a German immigrant from Mayenne in the Rhine province of Prussia. He was from the Mennonite farming community near Dayton, Ohio. Her family disowned her for converting to Roman Catholicism in order to marry John. Theodore was the 12th of 13 children, the 9 of 10 surviving. Paul Dreiser was one of his older brothers. Paul changed the spelling of his name as he became a popular songwriter. They were raised as Catholics. So Paul only made it to 48. That dude was a big boy. Let's see. Still, we gave no detail. From a brain hemorrhage. He also suffered from alcoholism, obesity, and depression. According to Daniels, Dreiser's childhood was characterized by severe poverty, and his father could be harsh. His later fiction reflects these experiences. After graduating from high school in Warsaw, Indiana, Dreiser attended Indiana University in 1889 to 1890 without taking a degree. I like his signature. It's nice. I don't like that he ran around on his wife. Shitty. During 1899, Dreiser and his first wife, Sarah, stayed with Arthur Henry and his wife, Maud Wood. Henry at the House of Four Pillars, an 1830s Greek revival house in Maumee, Ohio. There, Dreiser began work on his first novel, Sister Carrie. The House of the Four Pillars. Oh, and he published a short story with the M-bomb in it, eh? Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm going to wrap it up here shortly. Dreiser planned to return from his first European vacation on the Titanic, but was talked out of it by an English publisher who recommended he board a cheaper ship. Holy shit. Wow. I'm going to say that one again. Dreiser planned to return from his first European vacation on the Titanic, but was talked out of it by an English publisher. Man, I hope he bought him a drink. Holy shit. Oh my god. Talk about. I wonder if he ran around on Helen. While working as a newspaperman in St. Louis, Dreiser met schoolteacher Sarah Osborne White. They became engaged in 1893 and married on December 28, 1898. It's a big gap, 6 years. They separated in 1909, partly due to Dreiser's infatuation with Thelma Cudlip, the teenage daughter of a colleague, but were never formally divorced. Dude. 18, okay. 18, ooh, she lived in 91. American artist and book illustrator. Let's see here. God, some people are such creeps, man. In 1913, he began a romantic relationship with the actress and painter Kyra Markham. In 1919, Dreiser met his cousin, with whom he began an affair. Kind of sounds like a creep, I'm not gonna lie. He is a creep. Drouet. Through the following decades, she remained the constant woman in his life, even though many more temporary love affairs, such as one with his secretary, Clara Yeager, in the 30s, Helen tolerated Dreiser's affairs, and they remained together until his death. Dreiser and Helen married on June 13th, 1944, his first wife, Sarah, having died in 1942. Dreiser planned to return... Oh, yeah. I've read this like 3 times. Dreiser was an atheist. Oh, so sleepy. I didn't know his bibliography was that extensive. The Bulwark. Oops. These look good. What did they say what he died of? No. They just skipped that, huh? What'd you die of, dude? Say, what did Theodore? I like the name Theodore. What did Theodore Dreiser? What, syphilis? Because he fucked around so much? Heart attack. Okay. Ooh. Why did Theodore Dreiser miss the Titanic? The novelist, then 40, considered returning home from his first European holiday aboard the Titanic, and an English publisher talked him out of the plan, persuading the writer that taking another ship would be less expensive. Dreiser was at sea aboard the liner Kroonland when he heard the news. That's an interesting little piece of trivia. All right, so I've rambled long enough. I'm thinking of trying Sister Carrie, which is apparently inspired by his sexually liberated sister. So this will be interesting. And I chose to forgo reading the introduction for fear of spoilers. So, I hope to start this soon if if I can keep this momentum going. But for now, I'm going to close up shop and might go to sleep. Pretty tired. But anyways, thanks for listening. If you're interested, and we'll see if I don't start Sister Carrie. And in defense of women is kind of lingering in the dust here. It's not completely mummified, but I want to possibly move on to something new. And Sister Carrie was within arm's reach. So, all right. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys later. Bye.